They thought it was just another patrol boat, small, slow, and easy to lose in the Caribbean maze. 3 cigarette boats loaded with 2,000 kilograms of pure Colombian cocaine tore across the midnight water at 60 knots, engines howling between Jamaica and the Bahamas. Their goal was simple: open ocean, then a clean run to Miami. No pursuit, no pressure, just darkness. That silhouette on the horizon? In smuggler logic, harmless. They were wrong. In under 60 seconds, the patrol boat revealed itself as USCGC Stone, a 418-foot Legend-class national security cutter capable of launching helicopters, deploying armed boarding teams, and maintaining pursuit speeds that would make a NASCAR driver sweat. The smugglers had cigarette boats and desperation. The Stone had 4,600 horsepower, an MH-65 Dolphin, 50 caliber firepower, and a zero-tolerance policy for drug runners. What happened next proved exactly why the U.S. Coast Guard holds a 94% interdiction success rate in the Caribbean. The radar caught them first. 3 fast-moving contacts running dark at 0230 hours. Inside the USCGC Stone's Combat Information Center, the Night Watch shifted instantly from routine to operational. These weren't fishing boats. No AIS, no identification. 60 knots on a 045 degree heading through a known smuggling route between Jamaica and the Bahamas. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen recognized the signature immediately. 15 years of interdiction work had taught her exactly what that pattern meant. Condition Bravo rolled across the cutter. On the flight deck, the MH-65 Dolphin spun up. Below, boarding teams armed up. Across the ship, 120 Americans moved with the calm precision of a crew that had executed 47 successful interdictions in the last 18 months. Sector Miami began shaping the battle space. USCGC Thetis approached from the northeast, USCGC forward from the southeast, while a C-130 Hercules settled into high-altitude overwatch. Chen watched the tactical picture form. The smugglers weren't running toward open water. They were running straight into a multi-cutter trap built by one of the most capable maritime forces on Earth. To the smugglers, the advantage still seemed theirs. Cigarette boats can push past 80 knots in calm seas, while most patrol craft top out near 28. On paper, the math favored the traffickers. But that was the wrong equation. The USCGC Stone wasn't a typical patrol boat. Her 4 MTU diesel engines delivered sustained pursuit speeds, but speed alone wasn't her weapon. Coordination was. Outrunning them wasn't the mission. Boxing them in was. Above deck, the MH-65 Dolphin came alive. Aviation survival technician Second Class Williams ran through the pre-flight checklist with the efficiency of someone who had done it hundreds of times before. Night vision goggles, FLIR sensors, rescue hoist, and, most importantly, a precision marksman, Petty Officer First Class Rodriguez, armed with a .308 rifle built for disabling fire. Within 90 seconds, the Dolphin lifted into the night. Its twin aerial engines pushed it past 150 knots, nearly twice the speed of the cigarette boats below. As the helicopter surged ahead, its FLIR system cut through darkness like a scalpel, detecting heat signatures from miles out. The picture grew clearer by the second. Through thermal imaging, Rodriguez counted 9 smugglers across 3 vessels. The lead boat, a 42-foot cigarette top gun, running flat out on what had to be 1,200 horsepower. Wake spray fanned out behind it as it clawed across the sea at maximum RPM. The cutters had already anticipated this. The helicopter descended to 200 feet, unleashing a 30 million candle power night sun searchlight onto the lead boat. The response was instant. A sharp, panicked swerve that nearly rolled the vessel as its pilot lost vision in the blinding beam. Through his optics, Rodriguez observed chaos. One smuggler gestured wildly at the aircraft, another fumbled with a satellite phone, likely notifying cartel handlers that their run had just collapsed. The formation fractured. The lead boat peeled away erratically, while the remaining 2 pressed on, still clinging to the illusion of escape. They were seconds from discovering why escape was no longer on the menu. The smugglers had no idea the net was already closing around them. For 6 hours, Coast Guard Sector Miami had been monitoring the suspicious radar tracks, quietly positioning assets along every likely escape corridor. 2 additional cutters, USCGC Thetis and USCGC Forward, were already in place, forming a multi-vector trap with the Stone at its center. It was now a full-scale interdiction operation. 3 Coast Guard cutters, 2 helicopters, and a C-130 Hercules providing overwatch from 10,000 feet, all synchronized into a single, lethal web. The lead cigarette boat, now isolated, managed barely 8 nautical miles before the Thetis emerged on its starboard bow, cutting off the escape route with unmistakable federal authority. Suddenly, 80 knots didn't feel fast enough, not when 2 U.S. cutters were bearing down with the combined capability of a small navy. The standard Coast Guard boarding warning broadcast across the water as the net tightened. The smugglers' response was predictable: more throttle, more black exhaust, and engines screaming beyond safe limits. A desperate move, and a losing one. What the smugglers never saw was the invisible web tightening far beyond their horizon. 40 miles overhead, a Coast Guard C-130 Hercules had been orbiting for hours, its wide-area radar sweeping hundreds of square miles and tracking every movement on the water. Inside Coast Guard Sector Miami, the Joint Interagency Task Force South synchronized the operation in real time. GPS feeds, radar returns, and cutter positions flowed across command screens as each asset moved into place with practiced precision. USCGC Thetis advanced from the northeast, while USCGC Forward held the southeastern corridor, exactly where any breakout attempt would have to pass. Their positions weren't luck. They were the result of a network designed to cut off every escape route before the smugglers even realized they were boxed in. The traffickers thought they were outrunning a single cutter. In reality, they were already inside a fully coordinated interdiction net. 3 cutters, multiple aircraft, and real-time intelligence guiding every move. The net wasn't forming. It was already complete, and now it was time to close it. The Dolphin helicopter had been shadowing the smugglers for nearly 20 minutes, flying tight, fast, and patient. The crew were waiting for the precise moment when Coast Guard doctrine shifted from pursuit to action. That moment came without a word spoken over open radio. Petty Officer First Class Rodriguez, the helicopter's precision marksman, had been tracking the lead boat through the rifle scope the entire time. From 150 feet up, with the aircraft moving at 60 knots and the cigarette boat carving frantic patterns below, he made the calculation instinctively. Years of training took over. 3 .308 rounds left the rifle in perfectly measured succession. All 3 found the port engine block. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The engine seized, belching smoke and steam as the million-dollar go-fast boat lost all forward momentum. In less than a second, the smugglers' prized vessel transitioned from high-speed escape craft to drifting, powerless metal. The boat slowed to a lifeless crawl, dead in the water, boxed in by 2 Coast Guard cutters and the Dolphin circling above. The chase was over. The net had closed, and the traffickers were now passengers on a vessel that no longer belonged to them. The Maritime Security Response Team launched in a 26-foot response boat small, carving across the water and reaching the disabled smugglers in less than 2 minutes. This wasn't a negotiation, and it wasn't a standoff. It was a rapid takedown executed with the precision of a federal tactical unit. Within moments, the traffickers were face down on the deck, wrists secured, and fully in custody before the cigarette boat's seized engine had even finished steaming. 2,000 kilograms of cocaine, street value roughly $60 million, lay stacked inside the compartments of the 3 go-fast vessels. Combined with the boats themselves, each worth around $300,000, the entire operation was now firmly under U.S. government control. And the story didn't end there. The 2 remaining smuggling boats that tried to run together never stood a chance. The USCGC Forward had been shadowing them on radar from the moment they split formation. When their high-performance engines finally burned through the last of their fuel roughly 40 miles southeast of Nassau, they drifted straight into the path of another U.S. cutter, freshly fueled, fully armed, and more than patient enough to make the arrest. In the end, none of the smugglers escaped. The net held, and American law enforcement once again proved why the Caribbean is no place to challenge the United States Coast Guard. What unfolded on the water was a demonstration of how the United States conducts maritime law enforcement in the modern era. The smugglers believed they were outrunning a few patrol boats. In reality, They had stumbled straight into a fully integrated interdiction network backed by satellite surveillance, airborne reconnaissance, precision aviation assets, and enough coordinated firepower to overwhelm the maritime forces of most small nations. Just one cutter, the USCGC Stone, brought an arsenal built for scenarios exactly like this. An MH-65 Dolphin helicopter with the endurance to stay on target for hours. 50 caliber machine guns capable of ending a pursuit in seconds. A 57mm Bofors cannon for when things escalate beyond warnings. Advanced surface search radar able to track a go-fast from more than 25 miles away. And a maritime security response team trained to board and secure hostile vessels at speed. And that was only one platform in the operation. Behind it stood the full might of the United States Coast Guard, 11 Legend-class cutters, 29 response boat smalls, and a constant umbrella of 24/7 air coverage patrolling the Western Hemisphere's busiest smuggling lanes. Out here, the math is simple. No one outruns the Coast Guard. No one outsmarts the Coast Guard, and no trafficker survives the mistake of trying to move $60 million worth of cocaine through waters the United States has defended since 1790. By sunrise, all 3 cigarette boats were under tow toward Coast Guard Base Miami Beach. The smugglers were in federal custody, each facing 10 years to life under maritime drug trafficking statutes. The cocaine, 2,000 kilograms of it, was cataloged, tested, and prepared for destruction. But the real impact of the mission extended far beyond 3 arrests and a massive seizure. During processing, the lead smuggler, a 34-year-old Colombian national named Carlos Mendez, made the kind of mistake that only happens when the weight of federal charges becomes impossible to ignore. Faced with a mandatory minimum 20-year sentence, he began talking. The satellite phone recovered from his boat proved even more valuable. Inside it, contact lists, routing data, and encrypted messages tying together a distribution network stretching from Cartagena to Atlanta. Within 48 hours, DEA agents were conducting search warrants in Miami, Jacksonville, and Savannah. What began as a midnight interdiction had exploded into a nationwide takedown of a smuggling architecture moving half a metric ton of cocaine every month, an enterprise with a yearly street value exceeding $180 million. Back in the intelligence division, analysts dissected the GPS units recovered from the boats. They uncovered 23 previous smuggling runs over the last 8 months. Each trip had delivered an estimated $2.3 million in profit to the cartel. In a single night, the crew of the Stone had severed a $60 million annual revenue pipeline. The financial math was staggering. Fuel, personnel, helicopter flight time, ammunition, every expense combined totaled roughly $47,000. The value of the drugs seized, $60 million wholesale, $180 million retail. Return on investment, 3,829 to 1. But the true victory wasn't measured in dollars. It was measured in intelligence. The phones, GPS systems, and personal effects recovered during the interdiction provided a treasure trove of data, routes, timing windows, logistics contacts, and organizational hierarchy. Coast Guard analysts would spend months mapping the network, ultimately leading to 47 additional arrests across 6 states. Recognition followed quickly. Chief Petty Officer Martinez, the radar operator who first flagged the suspicious contacts, received a Coast Guard Commendation Medal. Lieutenant Commander Chen was selected for early promotion to commander. The entire crew of the Stone earned a meritorious unit commendation for flawless execution of a high-risk, high-value mission. And the USCGC Stone, already back on patrol, radar sweeping, helicopter-fueled, boarding teams ready for the next fast boat that believes it can outrun American steel and American determination. Because in these waters, there is always a next time. And the United States Coast Guard will be waiting. What would you have done differently as the cutter commander? Would the 57mm have sent a stronger message? Or was precision disabling fire the smarter call? Drop your thoughts below. If you want more real Coast Guard interdiction stories and classified-style breakdowns, hit subscribe and ring the bell, because out here, the mission never stops.